Hi there everybody, this is Rokalos again. I wanted to do another Exosister replay analysis. It's been requested a few times in the comment section already, so that's going to be the purpose of today's video. I have chosen 3 replays to showcase. The first one will give us a look at a grind game. The second one will give us a look at a turn 1 combo that can play through some common hand traps. And the third one will be a little bit funny. Also, hopefully it'll be a message to Konami. Yeah, so without further ado, let's jump right into the first one. So we're going first, and I open Max C, Martha, Dark Ruler No More, and double Imperm. This hand always starts with Activate Martha, obviously. But the Martha is met with an Ash Blossom. There's nothing we can do about that. I set both Imperms and I pass. This is the first point that I want to address. So there's 2 lines of thinking here. You can choose to set 1 Imperm and keep the other Imperm in your hand. If you do this, you will be playing around cards like Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster. Because if the first one gets outed by common back row removal, you'll still have the second one in your hand, which could be activated. That said, setting both Imperms has a few benefits. For starters, there are situations where you will want to activate both Imperms on the same chain. Off the top of my head, I can think of 2 cards where that will be the case, versus Crossout and versus Sprite Carrot. Crossout is the 5th most common card in Master Duel decks, and Carrot is the 15th most common card in Master Duel decks. Harpy's Feather Duster is somewhere along place number 22, and Lightning Storm is about number 90. So I'm choosing to play around the most common cards in Master Duel right now by setting both Imperms. But I do want you to know that there is justification for setting 1 Imperm and leaving the other one in your hand. As a bonus, the second Imperm does bluff a Vadis. Our opponent does know we're on Exosister, so that is something he could have as a consideration. So our opponent is on Tri-Brigade, and they're going to do the usual fractal line. So our opponent normal summons Fractal and activates its effect, banishing 2 for cost. You have a choice here. You can either Imperm the Fractal, or you can Max C. I'm going to Imperm the Fractal in anticipation that if he has the additional extender Keras, I'll be able to also get a draw off the Keras. Moreover, even if I Max C and let it resolve to get my draws, this player can still threaten Revolt in just 1 additional summon, and playing through Revolt and potentially other back row will already be difficult enough for us. So since we're already behind, I would rather just stop my opponent early as opposed to letting them special a few times just so that I could Max C. They go into battle, hit for 19, set 1 and pass it back to us. So, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And it's an Ash Blossom. Okay, alright. Once again, we're forced to pass. This time our opponent uses Fractal's effect to send itself, and basically does the whole thing all over again. Now once again we have the same consideration. Do we Max C this, or do we Imperm the Keras? Same justification, although this time they're less likely to have an additional extender. I would still rather just stop them early, an imperm was enough to stop their turn last turn, it's most likely enough to stop their turn this turn as well. And if that set is exactly Revolt, then we can fire off the Maxi. But it wasn't. My prediction was correct, and we're able to live another turn. Now I've drawn Pax. And the third time that I attempt Martha, I get hit by a Maxi. Really just can't catch a break against this. But you know what? Maxi does not mean we have to stop. And we're going to keep going. Now I do choose to overlay into Michalis. That does give my opponent one additional draw, but it also gives me a search. So it kind of evens out. I'm also going to be able to banish that face down he has set. So I search Returnia with Michalis, and then I'll search Vadis with the Pax. Our own Maxi is met with an Ash Blossom, unfortunate. Notably though, that does mean that he can no longer Ash Vadis, and this Talents is actually not so scary. Our opponent will choose to take. They will make Elf, Reborning, Kit, and, as you might have guessed, I'll chain Vadis. Vadis allows us to go into Michalis and Jabrim. Jabrim acts as a effect negation, and Michalis is spot banish. For some reason, our opponent did not choose to summon Kit in a zone Elf points to, but even if they had, we would be able to banish the Elf, negate the Kit, or vice versa. The Returnia seals the deal. I hope that this replay showcased that even if you get hand-trapped, sometimes your non-engine interruptions can leave you alive long enough so that you can eventually make your push. Also, getting max seed is not always going to be the end of the world. Getting triple tacked is not always going to be the end of the world. This next replay is not going to be the most exciting one, spoiler alert. It's a quick game, but our opening hand does provide an outlet to show you some ways that you can play through common hand traps. In particular, we'll be playing through Veiler, Ash, and most notably Ghost Ogre. I've mentioned in the past that Ghost Ogre is a particularly strong hand trap versus Exosister. It's one that will see more popularity as more sprite variants become popular, and it's important that you know how to play around it. So let's see. Our hand is Stella, Irene, Martha, Imperm, and Vadis. Having multiple Exosisters names is what allows you to play through these low-impact hand traps. We'll start by activating Martha. Instead of overlaying right away, we're going to normal summon Stella, activate its effect, and summon Irene. And now we'll overlay into McAllis first. This line does play a little bit harder into Nib, as our opponent could have dropped Nib on the summon of McAllis, thereby preventing us from getting our search. The thing is, this hand really was never playing through Nibiru, so I would much rather play through the hand traps that I know my hand can play through. If we sequence our turn like this, then when we activate McAllis's effect to search, should our opponent Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, or Valorous, we'll be able to chain McAllis to that effect, banish the hand trap they sent to the graveyard. This will trigger the Martha. Martha can then become a Caspitel, which can search an Ellis, and then Ellis can special summon itself and make another Exosister Exceeds with the Ellis that's already on board, and we can still get to Magnifica even after getting ogred. Our opponent is playing Punk Orchist. Anytime you're playing against a Punk variant, I strongly recommend to banish the Deer Note. Generally, even though the Brass Bombard will be able to get him some additional extension, if you banish a Punk player's Deer Note, it'll be very difficult for them to extend through the interruptions that you have on board. And our opponent saw that as well, so they scooped. Now on to the spicy stuff. For this last replay, our opening hand is Ghost Ogre, Ellis, Pax, Vadis, and I know you see her there, Fairy Tale Snow. This is just an attempt for us to stay one step ahead of the Ishizu cards. Let's see how it works. So this hand will always start with Pax searching Martha. Martha will activate. And here's where it gets interesting. We can normal summon our Snow. Overlaying with Ellis and Snow into McAllis allows us to play through Ogre, much in the same way you saw in the previous replay, because we have a Martha on field that we can trigger if our opponent uses a monster-based discard hand trap. Then, having the Ellis in hand means that we can extend into our second Exceed. So I'll overlay for a Caspitel, and I'll search a Martha for follow-up. I'll set Returnia and I'll set Vadis and pass turn. I want to talk a little bit about Snow though before we see our opponents play. Snow provides a few things for the deck. For starters, as you can see, it can serve as just an additional level 4. Sometimes you don't always have to normal summon an Exosister, so normal summoning a Snow is just as good in these situations. Moreover, should we have gotten a Beerud in this situation, our Returnia would still be live, as we would be able to banish the Nibiru token off of our field, because tokens can be banished for cost. So this will turn on our Returnia. Snow is also a good card when you're playing against somebody running Ishizu. If they're going to mill out your deck with Kelbeck and Agito, there's a few ways you can combat that. You can choose to play Neko Main King. That's pretty bad in best of one on ladder. You can choose to play the Ishizu Shufflers. That's better, but they don't really provide a lot of synergy. Snow, on the other hand, is a card that you can throw in a best of one format. At 1 or 2 copies, it won't get in the way of your engine, and it can serve as an additional layer of interruption. Currently, we have 4 cards in our graveyard, plus Snow. Over the course of our opponent's turn, we're likely going to end up having well over 7 cards in our graveyard. So we'll have a Snow activation, and that's just one additional layer of interruption that we're adding through a card that we were already going to normal summon anyway. If you are in a best of 3 setting, then I encourage you to explore siding Neko Main Kings and the Shufflers, specifically Keldo and Mudora. You might find them beneficial when you're playing against decks that are going to mill you out. And here we're going to see the real reason why I'm showing this replay. Yeah. Konami, please ban this card. This is so stupid. Yeah. I wish I could say I won that game, but I don't have an out to this in the main, so that's that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the last few replays. I will try to get some more for you guys. I know they are highly requested. That said, it is difficult to find quality replays. I haven't been able to attend the MCS the last few weeks, and getting quality replays on the ladder is tough, as most people will just quit, you know? So hopefully next week I can attend MCS and get some good content for you guys, okay? So, Rokalo signing off. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.